morning, everyone. Hello, all the familiar faces. Uh, now, I don't know where Ben is. I'll have to go yell at him. Did Ben put up the the meeting room animation that like he did for the office hours or for the sassy call? Okay, cool. Glad. I haven't seen it. I have no idea what it looks like.
It's been there
Did
for
you?
a couple weeks.
Excellent, excellent. How's everybody doing today? Sam, how are striped shirt kind of day? Did I miss a memo? I always go with flipping. Our
No,
favorite.
I don't think you missed any memos. It was just what I happened to grab.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, I used to have a coworker. I co-locate between taking care of mom and where home is, and he could tell. He knew the 4 or 5 shirts that I had kept at my mom's place for that week a month, and he could always tell where I was based on that. Well, that was pretty funny. It's like, dude, you pay that much attention to my wardrobe? Yeah. All righty. Yep. And anybody else who decides to show up another minute or two. But I actually have an interesting question. Does anybody on this call actually? Oh, let me let these other people in. Oh yeah, I don't care about that. Little note takers in. We actually have somebody show up today. Um, does anybody on this call utilize Google heavily, or do you have clients that utilize Google heavily?
Yeah, we have quite a few clients that do.
Jason, thanks for jumping in on that. So I just got off a call with a partner who had a breach of some sort, and they unfortunately got the call from the end user who said, "Hey, one of my coworkers said I just sent him 200 emails." We don't get any of that kind of telemetry out of Google the way we do out of Microsoft. How would you have noticed that that token theft had happened? How would you have caught that? Any perspective on how that would be different for Google versus, you know, Microsoft?
Not really off the top of my head. No.
Yeah,
Google is so weird with the way they have anything for us for tracking. So we
really?
were hoping you
Yeah.
guys would come up with something down the road. So
Well, actually, I do have something that we can share for those of us, for those of you like Jason who have a lot of Google folks. The stale account management tool now supports Google Workspace. So if you've been using that to clean up old stale dead accounts in Microsoft, you can now do that in your Google clients as well. So we're happy to see that hit our production. And unfortunately, I only have in my dev environment, I only have a single Google client, and the guy who has those credentials hasn't loaded it up in Respond yet, so I can't demo that. But I guarantee you it is there. And I look
is it
forward to hearing
live now?
Jason. Yeah, it should be. Yeah.
Okay, because we've got a couple education clients, so we've got literally hundreds of accounts that are going stale all the time with students moving in and out. So that would be
All right,
very
Jason,
helpful.
I would love some feedback. Jump in and play with that in all your spare time, and let me know how that works out.
Will do. Thank you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Um, So what's top of mind, guys? Any questions? Anything? I hit a brick wall today, and you guys were no help. No, I'm kidding. Google was no help, but so we got some other folks coming in. Any questions? Anything top of mind? Any questions or problems you guys are seeing?
I have one for power filters and the ASN name and locations.
Hmm.
I'm just curious if anyone else is running into this. So like if we go into an org and I select power filters under the ASN presets, it only goes all the way down to letter C, cuts off at like Comcast something or other. I
That's a
guess
bug.
this is, yeah, I guess this is with, so we had kind of brought this up to our rep because they're like, you have to enter all these manually. And I was like, no, either give me even a basic upload CSV option. If there's a bug, I get it, but give me something better than you have to copy paste. I could go
Right.
back to 1980 and have, mega sized computer screens too, but I thought the point of this stuff is to be a little bit more efficient. So if that is a bug that is,
It is.
I guess, known and not, I don't know what the timetable is on the fixed. I mean, is it easy enough to add at least like a CSV upload? Because that would at least let me, do these in bulk and we can finally mute all this, you know, Jimmy Jones going to India to eat naan on his
Hey.
time off kind of alerts.
I have a sneaking suspicion that can be done via API. I don't know for sure. Luckily,
Mhm.
the guy who knows how to do that, and can tell me if I'm wrong, has joined us. How are you, Ben?
I'm just the chaos coordinator.
I love it. I love it.
Hey, sure.
Ben, the question was, ASNs globally, we can run through A through Z, but at a company level, at an org level, we're not getting all of them. We're only getting like the top dozen or something.
Okay.
I saw a note on that, and so Sujit was asking, "Hey, is there a way if I could generate a list of those that I could upload those as CSV or maybe via API or something?" What say you, Ben?
You could probably do it through the API for sure. Give me a second. Um, let's see here.
And good morning to everyone who's joined in the last few minutes. Always good to see some familiar names and some people I don't remember.
And my Zoom was acting funny today. That was fun.
Excellent. Well, it's not like we use it much.
I know, right? All right. So what you would be looking for is, I believe, functions. And that's all the way at the bottom, I believe. So are we trying to do it on an account basis or a customer or an organization level?
Org level.
Okay. So yes, in theory, you should be able to do this. I think I have done it before. How comfortable are you with APIs or programs like Zapier, N8N, stuff like that?
I haven't used it much, but I can figure it out if that's the route to go.
It's the one that I usually go to if it's something that our software can't do efficiently and quickly. I at least know
Mhm.
that most of the time I can do it with the API. Happy to kind of guide you through that. I think I started one that would do that sort of thing, but I didn't ever get a chance to finish it yet.
Hmm.
If you look at this software, not that one, in search. If you look for this right here, this is a really cool low code, no code thing that you can easily use with our API. There's also, like I said, Zapier, but Zapier is kind of one of those things where they charge you every time you run it, and every step that it takes, you get charged. Whereas this one, you could host yourself if you're familiar with Docker. You can spin up an instance with this. It's open source, doesn't cost you a penny other than the resources of the machine and your time. There's also a cloud version where you can pay for it if you want to, and their prices are a little bit more reasonable. $20 a month, 2,500 executions, which is plenty, 5 workflows. And if you decided to go with N8N, I could definitely help you with getting you a workflow. Basically, I would just give you a JSON file and you would just import it into yours and then you can run it. It really comes down to where are you getting the information in order to update all these? Is it one you just like you want to provide a list of customers or a list of countries and our IP addresses and just let it go? Or what are you thinking?
So in our case, all our customers are Microsoft.
Mhm.
So we have a lot of people that hit the different Azure locations, they're in the Netherlands, they're hitting that Azure data center, and then it just flags. So we're
Mhm.
just looking to kind of put a stop to all the Microsoft ASN instances, just kind of mark
Oh.
those as approved. Those are expected for us. Okay, so it sounds like API.
Well,
So
here, hang on one second. Let me see if I can show you another thing first.
sure.
We're safe to be human.
I just need to sign in. Give me just a second.
Also, the next iteration of power filters you could do that on a much more grand scale by using the ASN number, which is what 6078 or something for everything Microsoft. That's not out yet, but that's really close. I know they're close on that. They've demoed it in the
Mhm.
last community meeting.
Yeah,
Now that's a
you
pretty
are
broad
right.
brush. That's a pretty broad brush. I'm not sure
Well,
how well they
and
did
that's
that.
what I was going to run into too. If you wanted to do something where you just like, you know what, Microsoft data centers the world over are okay, you can still do that. You don't have to rely on what we're pulling here. You can type your own. So you can say, hey, let's do Microsoft Corporation. If I could spell. And it's going to say, oh, you need to do this and this, but you don't. The only required field is the ASN. You can just hit add here, and the only reason it's
Oh,
not letting me is because I already have it, but I'm just at that top. You can just hit add, and it'll say, okay, well, everything from Microsoft Corporation is now not going to be flagged as outside approved location.
Oh,
So
perfect.
check me on this, Ben. Would that ignore country, state, code, city?
yeah, 100%.
Wow, I don't know if I
Yeah.
like that logic.
I mean, you can do it and that's why we give people the option. You know, we can say, you know, maybe there's certain countries you trust, maybe there's certain ones that you don't. This I'm doing at the partner level, so it's inherited across all orgs and all accounts. It really comes down to the partner and how they feel about it. You know, it's really only affects outside approved location, Anthony. So if I said, you know what?
Yeah.
If someone creates a suspicious mailbox rule or uses a token from a bad IP address, then it's still going to trigger for respond. It's not is
Mm,
remember power filters right now as currently iteration is only for outside approved location, but that would quiet down the system significantly for all those file events. So and like Anthony said, advanced suppression will end up eventually replacing power filters and
yeah.
will allow you much more granularity to say, you know what, uh, Microsoft Corporation is okay for all file events. Don't care. Don't give a crap. Uh, but for
Right.
authentication
For
events, I
IAMs,
may
yeah.
be able to do. Yeah. So it should help significantly, and that's not too far away at all.
Not this month.
Yeah,
Probably next.
they were working on some improvements that I have not checked out yet. But we can look at them now. I don't really care.
Well, thanks for revealing that. I did not know that we could go something as simple as just Microsoft Data Center or Microsoft Corporation, and it's
Yeah,
gonna wipe all of
because
them.
a lot of people, you know, use Total and Total owns a lot of their ASNs and they didn't want to have like to track down every single one of Total's data centers. And they was like, okay, we'll just do this. And it makes it, you know, a lot easier. So yeah, there's a couple people that I've kind of walked that through.
I
And as
appreciate
long
that,
as you
Ben.
go in with the understanding of what it's doing and everything, then you know you're good to go. All right, so it looks like they added a couple of fields here. Country was a big one, and also I believe it's not
And
there
just to be
yet, but they're going to be adding an add button at the top here, so you can specify things ahead of them actually happening. And
right,
if that is not in there in production when it comes out, then it will be via the API, and I will happily show people how to do that.
very cool. Very cool. Yeah, and just to be clear, anybody who's watching this recording, this is not your production environment. This is our development sandbox. So things you see here may never make it to production, but most of the things here are on the way.
Yeah, there's a lot of really cool things in here, aren't there? I know, it's like I guess someone set up some IOCs or something.
Yeah.
Anthony, did you tell people about the IOC thing yet?
I don't remember what IOC thing I was supposed to talk about. No, we actually started off, Ben, with a partner. I just got a call with a partner, and our friend Jason was actually quite helpful in telling me that, yeah, I was not wrong. Google doesn't give us the telemetry to know what's going on. So there's no way that we
No,
could have
it's not.
known that there was a breach.
Yeah.
And that was the partner's concern. And luckily, they just like Jason, they'd sort of seen that. By the way, in the dev environment, do they have a Google instance connected to Respond?
Oh,
Forward Respond for me.
I don't know if they do or not. They got 10,000 organizations in here, so
Yeah, we need a sort button.
well, they were testing out to see kind of like the limits of our system,
Oh, look at that.
and
Kuldeep does have a test one hooked up here in Google.
looks that way, yeah.
So jump over to organizations and let's see top left account management and try Kuldeep's KUL G
G
Suite
Suite
test. Yep, and blank that out and list accounts. Does Kuldeep have any old stale accounts? And there it is. Hooray, it actually works on G Suite. That's as much of a demo as you're going to get, Jason. But yeah, that is on the production environment for anybody who joined late, is the account management tool now supports G Suite.
Now that's the application is still Microsoft Respond instead of Google.
Mhm.
Should it not be the
Oh.
Google one or to be applying against G Suite?
Oh, he's got a couple of different. Oh, I see. He's got both Microsoft and G Suite in there. Yeah, I don't.
Let me see. Can you sort by application?
It wouldn't let me filter by that because I got clients that have both in the same tenant
Yeah.
space. We're using
Excellent.
Microsoft for their Intune and then the Google Suite for all their email since they're schools.
Right. All right. We'll let Amanda know that we need a sorting button.
Well, I mean, or the image is broken. Like, look, it says Gmail for some reason. I don't know if that's is that a guest as a guest account maybe.
Discount, yeah. Do
Yeah, I
this
don't
for
know
me.
very
Scroll
much
back
about
up to the top.
Kuldeeps.
Yeah, go up to the top, blank out Kuldeep in the org, and type in G Suite. See if anybody else has got that in the company name. No.
It's a G Suite test.
Test, yeah.
Oh yeah, it does.
There's okay.
Good. Should have
Okay,
never
so
doubted them.
all right,
Let's see.
Ben, what else were we supposed to talk about today?
So
Something
we
in
are,
IOCs?
yeah, IOCs and community templates. They put that in production here very recently, and they've asked me for a list of IOCs and also all of our partners. I don't think we currently have a submit button, but that is on the way. Let's see. Yeah,
I was looking for that this morning.
yeah, that's on the way, and so, but I gave them a list of the ones that we used for like MSA and stuff, and so that they should be able to start adding those pretty quickly, and you guys should as well. And I think it'll give you credit by default as whenever you submit it. So,
Steven, what's up, man?
Hey guys, I have a question for you all about, it's kind of related to this, but so we have two tenants. We have a main tenant with most of our clients, and then we have a secondary tenant that is just for EDU tenants or for EDU clients. And I am tasked with copying all the rules back and forth whenever they're updated on the main. I have to update them by manually on into the EDU tenant. Is there any way to export all the rules and then import them into the EDU tenant?
I think APIs are again our only answer, our
Yep.
only option.
Okay.
That's probably about accurate. It's we've been asking them for an export import button for quite a while, but yes, it's very possible with the API. And again, happy to help you in my spare time if you do decide to do something with that. I don't know what your programming skills are. Mine are I guess intermediate. I have a lot of experience with our API. I've made it a point to know it inside and out. But we do have a respond API, and I do know that it works. So I have used it plenty of times. You basically provide it with your API key, and then you get your auth code, and then you'll come in here and you will pull down all of the rules from within our system, and then pretty much just put them back up there, and you use put for that. Are you
Awesome.
pretty familiar with APIs, or?
I have some experience. I'm not
Cool.
the best, but I understand what you're saying. Yes.
I think you're
So
about to get a lot better.
yeah. You'll find, I mean, and you used to not be this way, but our system's kind of temperamental about, you could pull them all day long. You could get a list of them easy peasy. That's like no effort at all. But it was the recreating them that took a little bit of extra finesse. One hint that I will give you is that it allows you to specify your ID of the rule.
Hmm.
And obviously, you don't want to specify an ID that already exists, or you'll probably get an error message. So I was told use like a GUID generator, and
Okay.
that will just basically make you a random ID, and it won't be conflicting. But yeah, no, that would be it would be super easy to do, I think. I would definitely refer you to N8N for that as well.
Okay.
You could set it up on a schedule basis or as an on-demand thing, which there's a
That's
couple of different ways you could pull it.
okay. Great. Well, thank you very much. That's it's a pain having to update it every couple weeks, finding out what all rules have been changed. And anyway, yeah, that helps. Thank you.
Yeah, with a little bit N8N love, you'll be able to pretty much do that with one click, and
Awesome.
it'll take a second, and then you can just like say, "Oh well, I'm spending hours on this still," and
Yeah.
and do whatever you want to.
Yeah. All right.
No,
Well, thank you very
that's
much.
yeah. If you have problems, just reach out to me, and I'm happy to jump on
Awesome.
and show you a little bit about it. I've become kind of an expert, and they just got like I think it's like $50 million investment, so they're putting a lot of resources into their software. I think I even have a workflow example on their. They have a bunch of workflows that you can. Yeah,
Okay.
I finally got this submitted. This one. They have like a workshop full of things, and one of them was like, I want to be able to collect the email addresses and the authentication IP address for the last 24 hours. And so this is kind of how we work with the API, and anything you find in here you can just copy over. But yeah, happy to help you out with that.
Awesome.
It's
Thank you.
one of the things I use to like become like mentally stable. It's like it makes me it brings me happiness. You don't want to see my workflows that get crazy.
And back in the day when we would do coding and then we would have to compile it, we'd just be sitting there watching the screen doing nothing for an hour or two, and somebody would come by and say, "Hey, what? Like, leave me alone. I'm compiling. I'm just sitting there. I'm compiling. Go away."
uh I will say and uses a lot can use a lot of JavaScript, and ChatGPT is your personal best friend when it comes to that.
Yep.
It is very good with generating code that actually works. Which
All right.
makes my life a lot easier. I even asked it today. I was like, "Do I even need to learn JavaScript? You're already so good at it." It's like, why do you even need to bother? And they're like, "Oh, thanks."
That's sort of
Dependency
an
on
open
AI.
question for folks who are kind of low code, no code. What AIs are you using? Is anybody on this call actually using any AIs to help generate some workflows here?
I use Claude a lot.
Mhm.
I find that to be, I mean, we're a Microsoft shop, at Chat GPT and Microsoft. I don't know, it's not always reliable when you're trying to do research and kind of trying to build something. It's great for quick one-off answers, but that's about as far as that logic seems to go. But Claude I found is very efficient at kind of following like a long discussion, understanding the different prompts of like, okay, with that information, I now also need to extrapolate this, or I also need to create this. It's able to kind of follow that logic. So I've found better success with Claude AI compared to some others, but that's just me.
It's
That's
awesome.
cool.
Thank you for the feedback. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and that reminds me, if nobody, if you guys didn't want to use N8N or Zapier, you could probably pull off the same thing with Power Automate if you are a Microsoft shop. It's really just HTTP requests most of the time. So that's something to keep in mind if you're more comfortable with that.
Very cool. Excellent. Yeah. Is it Claude that just got sued for $1 trillion?
Well,
Brilliant.
they're all getting sued one by one. So
Well, it was somebody had inhaled not just published works that they had paid for, but they'd gone to some torrent sites and pulled down every book they could find. And so every author is bringing a class action lawsuit. And even if it's only a few $1,000s per author, it ends up being pushing $1 trillion. It will bring that company to an end. So,
Have you guys seen this one, the V0?
oh yeah,
This thing is disturbing. It will, like, you just
it
tell
is.
it you want a website that does this, and it will basically code everything for you and make it completely functional website. It's disturbing. I asked it to make
And
me a video game, and it totally did that too. It's like, it's
yeah,
terrifying.
I was
anybody,
reading a report about V0, about how it is being used a lot by threat actors to create fake websites for phishing
Oh yeah,
emails. Yeah.
yeah, totally. Yeah, you can tell it, hey, I want a login page that looks just like Microsoft, and it will go out and it'll look at Microsoft's page and then reproduce it. I haven't got it to be 100% exact with that. I did like Microsoft sign in page here, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of cute. It's not exactly what Microsoft looks like, but and I was like, oh, do an Amazon page for me too. And this was, I don't know if I think it's broke now, but it tried to add some fake products.
yeah. We talked about this on a Thursday call a few weeks
Yeah.
back, and that yeah, it was kind of funny. Ben's like, "Oh, I've never heard of this," and 2 minutes later, he's like, "Hey, I just built one." It was like that's scary fast.
Yeah.
Oh,
There was one, yeah, someone made one a little program that looks just like that operates just like Microsoft Paint. Isn't that hilarious?
that is.
So, yep.
So all kinds of fun AIs here's used here in the MSP space for all kinds of things. That's awesome.
Right.
Ben, I did remember what we want to talk about under indicators of compromise. Is there
Oh,
anybody on this call who's using the Kaseya SIM product? I know it's SaaS alerts, but
yep.
we got a couple of folks. Um, I saw a very common string in a bunch of the IOCs as delivered. And Ben, I was wondering if you could help me understand what a driven by risk-based policy means, or can we? Is that
so all of those were ones that were basically are being used by Rocket Cyber, and that was what they requested. Since they are primarily, like, if you sign up for Rocket Cyber, they're pretty much going to immediately tell you, do you have a P1 or P2? Get a P2, and so that was all the ones that they wanted. So it's just a bunch of different risky activity.
it's the risky
But
activity stuff that's driving that?
yeah, and that's mainly what they alert off of, and that's all fine, and that's great. But we at SaaS sorts pull a lot more data than they do, and have a lot more metrics we can pull from, and so. But that was part of the deal for Kaseya Sim is they we want all of our risky activity. And I said, all right, I'll create all your risky activity.
So I'm looking at some of those IOC rules, and it's showing that the description does not contain the risk-based policy thing. Is that kind of matching up with what you were saying?
Yeah,
Yep,
exactly. Yeah, yeah. It's so they're
it was
that's
what they wanted.
yeah, that's how they want to come into their side of the house. As Ben correctly said, we do something a little bit different, and we just approached it in a different manner when we started this project about 7 years ago. So P1 is not required, highly recommended because there is some telemetry that we don't get without a P1. Not a lot. There's only a couple of alerts. P2, nice to have, mostly because of that risky activity is pretty much for our purposes. The only thing that P2 really adds is um, Office Basic, no P1, no P2. If a risky activity happens, Microsoft says, hey, risky activity happened. If you have a P2, they enrich that same alert. They say, hey, risky activity happened, and here's why it was triggered. So from an engineer's point of view, for me, just for the alerting, I think there's some value there. Getting a client to buy off on that and pay for it, that's a little bit different story.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't ever try to penalize someone for not having a P2. So like a lot of the rules that we create, like for MSA, or did risky activity happen and then it was a successful login attempt or a successful login uh, after that risky activity, and that might be enough to justify us at least like flushing like tokens or something. And so, you know, I'll definitely use the information, but not reliant on it.
Excellent, excellent. Anybody else digging into IOCs, doing anything interesting that you want to share with the group, even though there isn't a submit button? Yeah, yeah. Same verbose crowd as always. Um, Ben, anything else from your side of the house that we wanted to share with our friends here?
I may be just as verbose. I haven't done much of anything other than trying to get the managed part of Kaseya Sim all wrapped up. That's been my life for the past couple of weeks. But uh, we did have an interesting thing that I'll probably talk about on the Thursday call too, is we had basically a widespread attack. And one of the rules that was very effective was that the Axios one. That one, basically, it was without divulging any information. It was an attack on a healthcare organization, and it was spread across probably like 20 different accounts, right? And one of my guys reached out and said, "Hey, we're seeing this happen a lot. You know, what do I need to do?" And I said, "Oh, let me take a look at it." And I was like, "Well, these are all legit." So I told him, I was like, reach out to the partner. They're experiencing a widespread attack across multiple people, and there's a lot of successful authentication going on. And talking to the partner, it was basically an email. I don't know if you've ever seen me do that, the token theft demo, but I send an email from SharePoint to an address and then tell them to click on the Word document and then authenticate. Well, it was that exact same one. I mean, it wasn't someone didn't copy my resignation letter, but it was a vendor that shared a file to everybody at that healthcare organization, and it was a SharePoint link, so it bypassed any sort of spam filtering, and the people clicked on the document, which told them to click here, and they clicked there and opened up a sign-in page for Microsoft, and it was all from Axios. It was from a different data center. Funny enough, it was not like used to. We were seeing just primarily Arizona data center, but this one was, I think, M247 or something like that. And that's a big one.
It's a big one. Well, I look forward to hearing all the details on Thursday. Sam, I'm sorry, Steven, what's up, man?
We actually we have rules specifically that will automatically revoke sessions for any time an Axios login actually occurs, and it's effective. We see it almost every day, and it's all from the same stuff. You know, vendors being compromised, sending out emails to their past contacts, and that's something that we see regularly. And Axios is very useful. That Axios blocking rule is very useful.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Excellent.
It's I think it's a software that was mostly controlled by that one, the Global Internet Solutions, and I think now it's kind of out in the wild and other people are using it. I think it has two functions. I don't know if it's the same software or not, but it's the same agent. There's one that does a lot of brute force attacks, and then there's other ones that are like token theft. So sometimes our rule gets confused and says, lock down an account, and it's really just a brute force. It's not necessarily an awful thing. It's inconvenient, but I've seen them go both ways. I don't know if this organization was a successful brute force, like this healthcare organization didn't have MFA enabled. I hate to say that it's a pretty high possibility. I think with our SASE report, we reported like only 40% of the accounts that we have on our system have MFA enabled. So it's quite possible it was either token theft or valid brute force too, or a combination of both.
And it's kind of funny that people who show up here they care about security. All of you do, and I love that. Out in the wild, it's like 34%. You know, we see about 40%. So yay, we're 6% better than the average. Oh, geez, guys, come on, we can do better.
That was pretty funny.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
We
It is.
we actually have a separate rule for brute force. It identifies brute forcing logins, you know, from password sprays or password leaks or whatever. So we have different rules for different things. I'm super impressed and very happy that we have SaaS alerts.
Yeah, hang on, let me get marketing to get that. No, I'm glad. I'm genuinely glad because that's, you know, we got to build a widget. As an engineer, I love the visibility and all this, but I know that you guys are out there protecting small businesses, big businesses, you know, every day with this. And that's what gets me out of bed in the morning. So I love that feedback. Appreciate that. Now, Stephen, you actually brought up a kind of an interesting thing. How many people here, I was just curious, are using respond rules to just do a token flush anytime you see anything weird? Because that's pretty low, you know, impact to your end users as opposed to that same criteria actually locking an account and doing a token flush. Any perspective on that? Just curious because I remember I had one partner who didn't have a supported PSA, so the platform felt a little noisy to him. But he had just basically gone through, and anytime anything weird jumped out, he just thought he did a token flush, you know, because that was probably a bad guy. And if that is, then all that bad guy's work is now shot in the foot. But the end user, whether it was real or not, he's working along doing his things like, oh, I got to put in my credentials again. Puts in his credentials and he's off to the races. And it's not even going to open up a ticket kind of thing. So,
Yeah, we use it for specific things like the Axios logins or revoke sessions, but for anytime there's a login from Iran, we lock the account.
yeah.
Same thing with
Yeah.
Russia, but
Russia and North Korea.
and North Korea, yes. The China, we had China on there for a while, but we have some clients that are actually they do regular business in China, so we had to stop that. But yeah, revoking sessions is a go-to for us.
It's awesome. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate it. Ben, I remember the other. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, one other thing I wanted along the same lines that you were talking about, our account management really only allows you to either delete an account or block it. And there is a request for that to be expanded. But just so you guys know, if you do decide to jump into more of the API world, there is an API that can execute a single action, and that action can be pretty much anything that you want it to be. Any other actions that we have are, you know, reset password, expire sessions, stuff like that. So if you set up a simple form that just said, you know, you punch in the email address, select the action, hit submit, you could use the API to perform additional actions in case you guys are ever interested in something like that.
Sam, let me look into this. I am almost certain that the intent was anybody who just wanted to stay direct with SaaS alerts for their billing and everything else absolutely could from now into infinity. And anybody who was already under the Kaseya umbrella was perfectly happy to roll all that up with their 365, with our 365 product to just simplify billing. I've reached out to the person who will be able to give me an answer and find out what that is. If you don't hear from me by the end of the day, Sam, feel free to reach out to me directly.
Okay, will do. I'm pretty sure I've heard the exact same things across various calls. I was just told to ask since I was here talking to SaaS alerts people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So no, that's absolutely fair. It's like other than there's been honestly having looked at Reddit in the last 3 years, I expected a bit more of a horror story after the acquisition. And there's so much of this that has gone well and far better than I could have ever imagined, actually. So, yeah, please, Ben.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. It's 602, 602, 602. At least that's what every time I got to put one in.
Down.
But the worst part is I was looking at anybody who uses Google personally, and you have to pay for storage or anything. They give a whole bunch of other things like, hey, it's dark web ID basically. It's the Kaseya product. It's letting you know, hey, here's all of the people who have your your information. It was exposed in this breach and that breach and everything else. My phone number's out there a million times, guys. So if you need it, it's pretty easy to find.
Mine's not. I don't think. Let me Google it.
Connor, how are you, my friend?
Doing pretty good.
Excellent. Anybody who hasn't met Connor in their journey, Connor was hired about 10 seconds after I was. She knows as much about this platform as anybody, and she's been helping out with some of these transitionary questions. Connor, our friend Sam had a question. Apparently, one of the Kaseya account managers is reaching out asking Decision Digital, Sam's company, to move over to Kaseya billing. Now, if Sam and Decision Digital are perfectly happy where they are they going to be required to make a change?
No, not necessarily. We are allowing partners to remain direct, especially because there's not even a billing SKU for managed SaaS alerts. So those people will probably stay with us for quite some time. But it's not mandatory. It's an option. If you guys want to take it, it helps kind of keep billing all in one login so you can see all of your bills through K1. And we are, starting an initiative to move everyone over. But if you do decide to stay direct, you have the option to do so.
There it is for the voice on the mount. Thanks, Connor. Really appreciate that perspective.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Oh, yes, Devin, that is a great question. Reach out to your account manager. Let
Just
them
have them
know
bug you
and
for it.
yeah, and bug us as well. I mean, this is definitely the forum for that. And here's really what we look at is I think it was Steve Jobs or somebody that said, listen, I'm going to be handed 100 brilliant ideas every year, and I'm going to be able to bring one or two to market. It doesn't mean the other 98 sucked. They were equally brilliant, but these are the ones that, for whatever reason, ended up being developed. And the squeaky wheel thing has something to do with this here. Box, email me how many seats you've got, remind me, and I'll put an upvote on our Nolt to remind our developers, because that's where they look as at our sort of roadmap area is, what should they be focusing their attention on? And somebody comes along and says, hey, I've got a 10,000 seat deal that hinges on this happening, then they pay attention to that, whether that's the truth or not. So Ring Central, I don't know. Yeah, and there is something coming, and I think this quarter is a little bit optimistic, but that's just me.
I don't know. They're really working hard for it.
Oh, they are. The concept was this years ago. Bring me a viable API. Now, again, has to have robust syslog data. Not all APIs do. But if it did, what if I could give you guys the ability to load that API and say, hey, here's the 20 things that it presents, and check the boxes on the 5 things you care about and get that telemetry in, and you could ignore everything else. That's, oh, you hushed. QuickBooks Online doesn't exist. But that was the idea. It was called App Wizard, and we made some headway with it because we learned a ton about how APIs work and what our partners need out of those APIs in the beginning years. And so once we got the SaaS Alerts product really up and running, thanks, Sam. Catch you next time. Once we got SaaS Alerts up and running, we sort of turned our attention back to this App Wizard concept to let you, the partners, choose what you get in there. And then a lot of things sort of all fell in place at once. And again, App Wizard became one of the 98 things that we just didn't get to that year. Well, it's back in production.
More of an app process.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know what they're going to call it, what branding, but that's the concept. You guys have got enough understanding of your clients and the software to know what you need. We'll give you the option to pull it in, and I'll bookend this if it has a viable API, because there's certainly some that don't. Okay, so I don't want to promise that this quarter, but Ben just did, so yell at him.
I promised nothing. I said, I think. Yeah. Like Anthony said, I think they've definitely heard this call, and It's something that you want to get on the list for, because not you guys are awesome, but not every MSP understands even basic API usage, or or any sort of like technical thing like that. So it's not something that we want to throw out there and be like, here's this, and then all the questions come in like, help me program this API with this software. It's just our support couldn't deal with that. So there will be certain people that will be more geared towards making that happen for software. And I think that's great. I am going to be first on that list because there's a bunch of software I think would be great to have. And I think end game will be, if you make something, you can submit it for the rest of the community, or you can just keep it for yourself and say, you know what, I put the time and effort into this API creation. I want to solely offer it just for my clients. Totally up to you.
Absolutely. Yeah, no,
So that's
100%.
that's something we definitely been pushing for, and then something they're working on, which I was really surprised. I think the biggest question is like really the how do you approach it if you have a piece of software that is extremely loud, like it's generating millions of events every 5 minutes or something. How do you stack that up against a piece of software that only generates like 5 or 10 events, or a reasonable amount? So there's a question of data consumption and bandwidth as well. So it's something they're going to work
CPU,
on. Yeah.
CPU cycles cost something.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
They do.
I mean, like if somebody connected their firewall, like a syslog, and then just dumped everything into the system, it takes storage to CPU and everything else, and we wouldn't want someone that has like 20 of these firewalls to bring down our system. So it has to be measured.
So, and it's one of those things. It's like you guys shouldn't have to worry about that, but it's out there, and
Mm,
it's uncharted territory right now. So we're sort of charging with the yeah.
interesting.
It is, yeah, yeah. Thanks for bringing that up, Sujit. That is that makes my point right there. CPU
Interesting.
cycles cost something.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and
hey
we've
Ben,
never like charged for integrations, but it's like it really comes down to, would that ever change if you had something that was like dumping like the equivalent of Microsoft's amount of events into the system?
yeah. Yeah, because just that 1.2 billion number I keep throwing out, that's all the events in the raw. Then we process those down
Yeah.
into 3 or 400 million alerts that you guys end up seeing.
Hmm.
So just that parsing, that process, um, when we went from pulling down 3 or 400 million in the raw, and then we knew the integration with Rocket Cyber was going to happen, we basically scaled our systems 10x. I mean,
Yeah.
it's when things started to generate faster on the platform, that's when we had done a bunch of stuff in the background that for everyday use, you'll see little blips here and there. But way the architecture of our system is, if we get a giant download of data, it goes into crunch mode and it's just trying to kind of crunch all that stuff out, and you'll see huge spikes in resource usages, and they'll scale all up. And then once it's processed that stuff, then all those resources scale down. It's kind of fun to watch that happen.
Hmm.
It's sort of like everybody gets on in the morning and everybody turns on their coffee maker, and all of a sudden there's a big load on the electrical grid. And then when they're done, then all of a sudden the grid can relax a little bit. And having this meta view that we do, there's some fun dashboards we get to look at that don't mean anything to anybody except the developers. But
Yeah.
in any case,
I think that's what the work would be for anybody that wants to add a piece of software that we don't support, would be the mapping of this event to this event, so that it creates some uniformity. So there will be
Mhm.
some legwork there for anybody that decides to go off on their own and make these custom these mappings. It won't be just a matter of like way it is now, which is click a box, sign in, and you're done.
Yeah,
So
because we have defined what is an IAM event,
yeah.
successful login,
Yeah,
and
that's
how
your
do we
viable API
ingest
right
that? Yeah,
there. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
exactly.
when we say viable API, we're looking at connecting those events to our events, and making sure that we're actually getting them. And if we don't get them, it makes it a non-viable API. Or maybe they only give you like a small little so and so signed in, but no IP address, no location, nothing. It's not really viable just to give you, hey, Bob signed in. Yay.
So,
But
Devin, there was a 10-minute answer to your question. I hope that gave you some perspective on what that's going to look like. And
It definitely
and yeah,
did. Thank you.
I think it should be
absolutely.
fun. I think it'll be awesome for people that know, how to set them up. And if they're feeling generous, I see that, a lot more software being put out there.
Yeah. And that was always our goal. I want to,
Yeah.
if it's got a viable API, I want to monitor it. You guys
Yep.
deserve that. Your clients deserve that. And where we keep hitting brick walls, and I don't want to beat on QuickBooks, but it's so easy, is there is software out there that is critical to your clients, to
Mhm.
their day-to-day operations, and the software manufacturers have made a conscious choice to expose none of that. I, we have to have that conversation with those software manufacturers. We
Mm.
have to, and not to, put on our high hat here, but the API throttling, it's a thing. There's only so much somebody can do. There's one company that I know of that does not throttle their APIs at all. You can make 1 billion calls a second to their API endpoints, and that's us. Chip made a conscious decision that if that data is in our API, and if you want it, we're not going to limit you to 3,000 calls a second, 30,000 calls a second. It is literally unlimited.
Yep.
And that there is a cost associated with that, but we thought that um, that would be better serving our community. Yeah, Chip's the
Well,
man.
and I know that the first version of this will mostly be kind of a listening endpoint, which goes on the assumption your software has the ability to send events out, similar to the way that ours does with webhooks. And then eventually we want to be able to give it the ability to reach out to get those events. But even if you guys are looking at your software and like, well, this guy he doesn't actually send events anywhere. It just presents us to, option for us to reach out into their API. It doesn't mean you can't use like a third party to facilitate that. It's just initially that's the limitation that we're going to be dealing with.
Yeah. So, yeah, definitely. If any of this is starting to resonate, continue down that education path
Yeah.
that Ben likes to bang that drum about, learning about the APIs and the conduits, whether it's Roost or 8N8, any of those, because I think that's really for those of us who are diving deep. That's part of our future, where it's going to be
Oh
required
yeah.
reading.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. And Anthony even he recommended, hey, you brought up we heard about this the other day and he was like, I see, workshops and API videos and stuff, coming. And I was like, definitely. I want to give you guys the tools to do this. Just don't be afraid to jump in beforehand and get your feet wet.
Don't expect support at Kaseya to be much
Oh
help.
no,
So it's
they're
going to
they're
be
not
this
going to.
community. It's going to be this community.
Yeah.
It's too detailed. You couldn't
Yeah.
ask a bunch of tier 3 guys to help out with that all the
Yeah,
time.
and they even say it on our knowledge base. Support does not support the API. So it's just because it's not that we don't have confidence in our system. It's just everybody has different starting levels. You may be like an excellent programmer that knows all the languages, C plus, Pascal, and everything else, and you may have someone that's never actually like opened up terminal before, and so it's hard for them to support and educate. But
Yeah,
Anthony and I will do our best. And it's also
absolutely.
something that I want to cover during our Vegas trip, Anthony. I want people to come away with at least some a little basic API knowledge.
Yeah. And just not be scared about it, because it seems
Yeah.
like that's going to be master's class at CMU or something, and it's
Yeah.
not. This is something that we've all done it. It's algebra. We've done this, whether or not we knew what we were actually doing. That was coding, and so we'll get you there.
Yeah, and I mean, there's so much that you can do that. I mean, the software developers can't think of everything, and so API usage really is it's a good tool to have for not just SaaS sorts, but pretty much anything. I know I'm working with Autotask for MSA, And I wanted something that when somebody filled out a form, it created them inside of Autotask, created a contact, spun up and automatically started a project, filled out all the information for us in the project. And Autotask obviously doesn't do that, but their API is more than capable of doing that sort of thing. So it's good to have.
That's good basic knowledge.
API is
Far
good.
wide-ranging discussion. Before we close out today, anybody else have anything else on their brains?
I want to thank Tina for showing up to the webinar yesterday with that Corey put on.
I was pretty excited to see you.
I was kind of surprised to get the invite, and I was like, "Well, that's cool." I was like, "Oh, I'll come and hang out with you guys."
Yeah, no, that was I wasn't able to stay for the whole thing. I got to go rewatch it. But it's just when you see a bunch of security guys just sitting around shooting the breeze and talking about stuff, it's never dull. It's never
Yeah,
dull.
I like they're not trying to really sell anything with these, which I always it turns me off when I'm on a webinar. Then they're trying to sell you something, but no, this one is just purely educational, and that's why I mean I you'll find me in the Tradecraft Tuesdays by Huntress because they don't try to sell, they just want to spread knowledge, and I think that's very admirable of them to spread that goodwill. I want us to do more of that.
Amen. All right, folks. Thanks again. I look forward to seeing some of y'all on Tuesdays and hopefully most of y'all next Thursday. Thank you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Yeah.